Located 37 kilometers from the French city of Saint-Nazaire, standing alone over the deep waters of the Atlantic Ocean, is a desolate-looking lighthouse. There's a famous story about this lighthouse. Any person who guards it is offered an annual salary of $1.2 million, which amounts to 33.2 crore rupees. Yet, despite this, no human has agreed to do this job since 1991. And the reason behind this will make your hair stand on end. Welcome to another episode of Money Basics Explained TV. Thank you very much for your love. Usually, a lighthouse is built on a high place or on cliffs in the sea so that its light can guide ships and boats in the ocean, helping them avoid colliding with the shore or rocky paths. Currently, there are more than 18,000 lighthouses worldwide, but out of these, around 4,000 are still fully active. Among these, there is one lighthouse that people are even afraid to talk about. It is the Jument Lighthouse. Some people know it as Jument Lighthouse or Jument Lighthouse, and actually, both of these names are incorrect. La Jument is actually a French word that means the mare. From 1888 to 1904, 31 sailing ships crashed into these very rocks and sank, resulting in the deaths of over 250 people. This tower was built precisely for this purpose, to protect passing ships from these large, sharp rocks. You might be surprised to learn that many people lost their lives during the construction of this tower. Construction of this lighthouse began in 1904 and was completed in 1912. This 118-foot-high tower took a full 8 years to build, using 500,000 granite stones and 1,000 tons of concrete. But one thing that astonishes everyone is that this lighthouse is always shrouded by sea waves, rain, and complete darkness. The powerful waves here are so high and strong that they completely engulf the entire lighthouse. When these waves hit the lighthouse at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, the walls of the lighthouse tremble violently. December 5, 1991, was a stormy day in history. 60-feet-high waves were crashing against the lighthouse. At that time, the lighthouse was being overseen by a man named Pierre, who was on duty inside, terrified by the storm. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a helicopter outside, thinking perhaps someone had come to help him. But that helicopter belonged to Jean Guichard, a photographer who was photographing the ocean storm that day. As Pierre reached the lighthouse door seeking help, a massive wave rose from behind the lighthouse and swept him away, resulting in his death. His body was never found in the ocean. However, a photo from that time did surface, taken by Jean Guichard from that very helicopter. After this incident, the lighthouse became extremely famous. Along with this photo, some stories also became very popular, making the lighthouse even terrifying. Looking at this bizarre lighthouse, a question often arises in people's minds. Why was it necessary to build this lighthouse, and why is it so important that its light remains lit at all times? To understand the history behind this, we need to go back a few years. This was an era when there were neither roads nor vehicles for long journeys. The safest and best way to travel long distances was by sea. But there was a problem here too. Ships would suddenly vanish in the ocean. People would set out to sea but never return. This is because 71% of our world is covered in ocean. Even if you gathered all the land in the world, combining all 7 continents, the Pacific Ocean would still be larger. When sailors of old times traveled this ocean, they had no idea how far the next land was, because navigation was the biggest challenge in the world during that era. There was no GPS system like today. These sailors had to look at the sun to see their direction and track the stars to find their way at night. Initially, they depended on some navigation tools that helped them find their way to some extent, but when a storm struck hundreds of kilometers away at sea, these ships would completely lose their direction, causing them to wander in the ocean for months. Eventually, failing to find land, these people would die of hunger and thirst at sea. One such incident occurred that shook everyone at sea during that time. In 1857, a sailing ship named the SS Hansa was going from London to Canada with 200 passengers. Besides commercial goods, this ship had plenty of food and supplies. After a day's journey, when the ship neared the Azores Islands, a massive ocean storm hit them. This storm was so powerful that the ship went out of the control of the pilot and crew. In no time, it crashed into a sharp rock, shattering more than half of the ship. More than 200 people on board lost their lives in this accident. 1,600 years before this incident, the world's first lighthouse had been established. Near Egypt's Mediterranean Sea was the ancient city of Alexandria. This kingdom's biggest problem was also the same. Look closely at the location on this map. Sailing ships and boats had to pass by here to reach the shore of this city, and surrounding it were many sharp rocks and stones. When trade ships passed at night, these wooden ships would collide with them. The ships would take on water, and they would sink with all their cargo. At that time, the king here, Ptolemy I, summoned the experts and brilliant architects of that time to help find a solution. Together, they created a phenomenal model that would not only protect ships from rocks and stony paths at night, but also keep them completely safe from the sea pirates of that time. If any storm came, this lighthouse would also be able to alert them. This was a tower 284 feet high, built entirely of white marble. This tower was built on the island of Pharos, off the coast of Alexandria. At its top, a huge fire was lit at night, continuously supplied with oil and wood. This lighthouse is considered one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world today, the reason being its design and its antiquity. After that, every kingdom in the world started building such towers. In today's era, many ships have advanced navigation features, which is why most lighthouses have become obsolete. Now, let's expose some of the stories built around this lighthouse that have no connection to reality. First, let's talk about the $1.2 million annual salary. Is this story true? Are workers on this tower actually given 33.2 crore rupees annually? After the 1991 incident of Pierre Quéré's death, this lighthouse was made completely automated. After that, no worker came here to work. This lighthouse was directly connected to satellites so that it could be controlled remotely. There are still some lighthouse towers in the world where people still work. The lives of workers working here are full of danger. They are given several months of training. No ordinary person can survive even 4 hours working here. A lighthouse keeper named Nemo Peters had said that the first night here is very terrifying because the sea waves are strong. When they hit the tower, it feels as if someone has pushed the lighthouse, making it impossible to sleep all night. He also said, "I have never felt so alone in my life. The strong sea winds made me feel as if someone was here, and it felt like someone was watching me. And when I looked into the sea, it seemed like sounds of women crying were coming from there." Usually, the annual salary of these workers ranges from $40,000 to $80,000. So what is the real story behind this lighthouse offering a $1.2 million salary? Hearing such a large salary figure, 50,000 people from around the world applied for this job. But the reality, friends, is something else.
When this tower was built, it cost €1 million at that time, which would be about 229 crore rupees even today. My question to you is, a lighthouse that cost only 229 crore rupees to build, the keeper working there would be paid an annual salary of 33.2 crore rupees. If this were true, then even after the keeper's salary, the lighthouse would incur a loss. The truth is that the story of this huge salary is completely fake and was just a rumor spread on the internet. In 2010, a fake website was created claiming that the French government was hiring a keeper for this tower with a salary of $1.2 million. The intention was to make people apply and collect their data. People from all over the world, attracted by the high salary, submitted forms through that fake website. And that's the reality. There are many such mysteries in the world that have been solved, but there is one mystery that has not been solved yet, and that mystery is the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. What was the purpose of building these pyramids? And when a team of researchers sent a robotic camera inside it to see, what did they find inside that no one had seen for the last 4,500 years? If you want a video made on this topic, please let us know in the comments. That's all for today. See you in another amazing video.